If y'all didn't quite get it, let me say it again. I'm here to stay. I'm here to stay.
Go to this now. ESPN report PG-13 back with the Thunder. Reportedly, whether 101 or not, it'll be through 2 years for $61.5 million. We'll get to where the team stands on that financially with Eric Pincus in a second. Let's talk about what it means.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk. A year ago, this was as talked about as anything when that trade was made. Yet it seemed like the last couple of months, DA, the momentum was towards Paul George somehow either going back to L.A., where he's from, or with LeBron. When did that kind of swing back towards him returning to OKC?
Well, we just talked about it. It was a year-long process that the Thunder undertook to try to convince Paul George that this was a place he could play long-term. And again, I say this, I just tweeted this out. All these people that after you heard about the Kawhi Leonard trade, well, Philly would be crazy to try to get Kawhi Leonard if he's only going to be there a year. Boston would be crazy to get Kawhi Leonard if he's only going to be there for a year. This is why you get great players, because you never know what could happen. Because if you're a good organization and you're about the right things and you win, people want to stick around that. And so that's why you take the shot at a guy like Kawhi Leonard. That's why the Thunder, when nobody had them on the radar, said, you know what, we're going to take the shot.
It's why Boston takes the shot on Kyrie.
You take the shot.
Right.
You have to take the shot because you don't get a chance to get a player this good that often. So you take the shot. And you trade picks for a guy like that. You do whatever you got to do to get a player like that.
And Eric Pincus, our guru over there, explained this very well to me as well. The other benefit Paul derives out of doing this is, as opposed to signing a long-term deal that starts at 30%,
right?
2 years from now, he gets to start at 35% of $116 million.
Right.
So let's not kid ourselves. This is very much financially motivated as well, because, again, that money matters in a Paul George scenario in a way that it does not matter in a LeBron James scenario.
We also know now that his barber will be at the draft next year in Brooklyn telling you who the picks are before they're made. Eric Pincus, take us through the financials of this. Paul George looking to be 2 years at 61.5 back with the Thunder.
Well, that seems a little light as far as the max. It feels like maybe he's giving them a $1 million discount. Again, this is early, and certainly as the numbers come in, we'll get that and we'll find out what is accurate. But at least the reported number seems a little bit short of what he could have gotten. But, Griff, we were just discussing this during the break. It's money that he can get later. There's that level, right? You're a 10-year veteran. You get 35% of the cap. And then the cap's going up. The cap came in today. They gave a projection for not just next year, 109, but that 116 number is higher than expected. I expected it to be closer to about 113, still a large number. So if you can cash in, if you're Paul George. Now, had he gone to the Lakers, they would have been able to sign him for however long, right? But if you wanted to do that 2-year deal so that he could hit the market again in that 116 range when it's a lot of money, 35% of that, the problem was the Lakers wouldn't have his rights. It takes 3 years to get full bird rights. So they would only have his early bird rights. They would only be able to give him a raise of 30% above what he would be getting in that year. So this is the best way for Paul George to maximize his money. And we talked about LeBron and how LeBron doesn't have to do that, right? Because he's LeBron. Paul George is not LeBron, and he's getting the most money he can now, but it's a short-term way of doing it, even if he's giving him a $1 million discount, if that proves to be true. But then in a couple of years, he can really cash in. And it's a bold move for a guy who suffered a catastrophic injury, that broken ankle. I thought that he would go long-term, like let's just sign right now, get as much money as possible, but he's banking on himself. And he's banking on the Thunder organization.
Eric, appreciate it from the financial standpoint. Let's talk about from the team standpoint, because the big three, that was the conversation going into last year. Can they challenge? Some people thought maybe they can challenge, forget Houston, Golden State. Griff, how do they get better? Because they can maybe be the same. Maybe they can get better in terms of continuity. But what about what else they need to do to get this roster to a point where, as D.A. said, Houston looked like they were a team that could have beaten Golden State, and we know the Warriors are the champs?
Well, first of all, don't discount the importance of continuity. That's really meaningful. Getting Andre Robertson back healthy will be really meaningful. what you said, DA, earlier about the disposition of Jeremy Grant's situation will be impactful. We know that Carmelo can't come back if he gets stretched, but that is a situation where you can create a lot of financial flexibility. And for a team running the tax numbers Oklahoma City has been running in that market, that's meaningful.
Right.
And again, we get so caught up in this superstar team building notion that we completely discount the idea that 2 superstars used to be a really big deal.
Right.
And if you are doing the right things in terms of building the ancillary pieces around those guys, if they're the right players and they actually make other people better, which I would argue is yet to be seen in some cases, I think you can win. And you have every reason to believe you can win. The Leviathan, as you called it, that is Golden State, has jaded everyone to such a huge degree that you start making decisions that in some ways may not make sense over the long term.
Right. And I think it's important the Oklahoma Cities and the Houstons and other teams in the West didn't just kind of throw their hands up and say, we have no shot. They kept trying. And again, one thing that was very important, and we've talked about Carmelo a lot and how he's not the player he used to be and it doesn't fit in. Them going out and getting Carmelo Anthony, that made a big impression on Paul George, a big impression, that they were going to do whatever they could to make the team as good as it could be in that given year. And if that was one thing that convinced him tonight to stay, then that's a big deal for that team.
And coming where he was before, that made a big impact on him.
We are 5 minutes away from every team making a phone call to every free agent, all at the very same time.